Recently, the New York Times dropped a bombshell on Representative Matt Gaetz, saying that he was alleged to have been involved in a sex trafficking scheme involving a 17-year-old girl. Recently, he went on Fox News to defend himself against those allegations, and it got weird.
You're saying that David McGee was motivated by greed. He was trying to extort money from your family. That's his motivation, you're saying?
I know that there was a demand for money in exchange for a commitment that he could make this investigation go away along with his co-conspirators. They even claimed to have specific connections inside the Biden White House. Now, I don't know if that's true. They were promising that Joe Biden would pardon me. Obviously, I don't need a pardon. I'm not seeking a pardon. I have not done anything improper or wrong. But what I am troubled by is the real motivation for all of this. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do, and so you know what this feels like. You know the pain it can bring to your family, and you know how it just puts people on defense when you're accused of something so salacious and awful. But it did not happen. It is not true. And the fact that it is the basis of this attempt to extort my family tells a lot. And if the FBI and Department of Justice will release the tapes that they are in possession of, the American people will see what is really going on.
You just referred to a mentally ill viewer who accused me of a sex crime 20 years ago. And of course, it was not true. I'd never met the person. But I do agree with you that being accused falsely is one of the worst things that can happen.
That got awkward. That got super, super awkward. By the way, just to reference something that was said at the beginning of the video, McGee is somebody who worked in the Trump DOJ. And it's funny that that person didn't really seem to be any sort of position to extort anyone for money. But anyway, back to the Tucker Carlson. He's like, he did not look happy about that, okay? Did not look happy about that. Now, as far as the allegations, of course, of like conspiracy, know what he's doing. Matt Gaetz knows exactly what he's doing. He's playing the conspiracy crowd. He's putting the FBI, putting it on the FBI and the DOJ to release tapes, supposedly from his dad, who supposedly wore a wire. Although if you're doing an active investigation, you're not going to release any of these tapes. And of course, if they're real, they're not going to do that just because Matt Gaetz says, oh, no, there's a conspiracy against me. I have proof. I mean, I don't. The FBI has proof. And if they don't release it, which I don't think they're going to, he can then say, oh, look, the DOJ and the FBI, they're obviously deep state plants and they're controlled by Joe Biden. And that's why, of course, they're never going to release this. And so you should just believe me anyway. I mean, he knows what he's doing. I think he knows what he's doing, even though it looks like he's in a pretty desperate situation here. That said, that's not as weird as it gets. It gets weirder.
I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact that somehow I was involved in some pay-for-play scheme, that she could face trouble. And so I do believe that there are people at the Department of Justice who are trying to smear me, providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. But I would like to know who. So they're saying there is a 17-year-old girl who you had a relationship with. Is that true? And who are they? Who is this girl? What are they talking about, the New York Times?
The person doesn't exist. I have not had a relationship with a 17-year-old. That is totally false.
So what happens next? I mean, you can see there is this investigation, I guess a criminal investigation. I'm not quite sure where the sex trafficking part comes in. I don't, again, for the fifth time, I don't really understand the story very well. But where does it go from here? I mean, you've made an allegation against someone by name on the air and accused him of trying to extort millions of dollars from your family. What happens tomorrow?
Well, what was supposed to happen was the transfer of this money that would have implicated the former colleague of these current DOJ officials. But that's obviously not going to happen tomorrow because the New York Times story was leaked in order to quell that investigative effort.
All right. So that was strange. And by the way, afterwards, Tucker Carlson comes out and says, well, that was one of the most bizarre interviews I've ever had, which is absolutely true. But like, I'm pretty sure Tucker Carlson was not too appreciative of Matt Gaetz literally trying to drag him into this using Tucker Carlson's own scandals. Not only that, but like, I don't remember having dinner with you and your girlfriend. I don't remember that. Please give me some context on this. Nope, don't remember. Don't. Nope, totally. Yep. You know, it's bad when Tucker Carlson ditches you. And it's funny because, again, Fox News, you know, these personalities, they helped make Matt Gaetz. They hyped him up, featured him on his network. In fact, back in a September 2019 profile of Gaetz from Mother Jones, Stephanie Mensimer reported that in the past year, he appeared more than 70 times in the network. And Sean Hannity campaigned for him when he was running in Florida. He's almost always been a regular on Fox News. And just hours before this broke, he put out the statement that he was, or not really statement, but he kind of leaked this on the DL that he was going to step down from Congress and take a job at Newsmax. Newsmax to the max. So this entire thing is really, I mean, it's explosive. And again, I love how Tucker Carlson at the end was just like, I don't get this sex trafficking. All right, well, let me break it down for you, Tucker. All right. So taking a child of not consenting age across state lines for sex is trafficking. This was a 17-year-old girl. It wasn't a 17-year-old woman. It was a 17-year-old girl, a child. In the state of Florida, the age of consent is 18 years old. Sexual intercourse with someone who was under 18 is considered to be statutory rape. Simple as that. Now, of course, in different states, you have different ages of consent. Okay. But if you take someone from a state, for example, Florida, whose age of consent, as I just mentioned, was 18, and you fly them to another state and then have sex with them in a state where it might be lower, the age of consent might be 16. Well, then you still committed a crime because you trafficked someone from one state to the other for a purpose of having sex with them. Okay? And look, there are exceptions to this. One of them, actually, is a close in age exemption, right? It's called a Romeo and Juliet law, essentially, that allows minors who are 16 or 17 to have sex with someone no older than 23. Well, at the time, Matt Gaetz was 36 years old. So this does not apply. And so if this is true, then Matt Gaetz is in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. And so it's pretty easy for me to understand, maybe because I'm not a moron, maybe because I'm not Tucker Carlson, who constantly has this dumb look on his face, where you can like tell that the gears are starting to turn, but there's like rust, maybe some cobwebs in there. The gears is kind of stuck. And you hear this consistent grinding noise whenever he tries to think. Maybe there's steam coming out of his ears at some point. But, I can get it. Most people can get it. Most people can understand this. Tucker Carlson can't. Very strange interview. Very, very telling. And very disastrous. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.